There's a moment, somewhere in the quiet parts of the day, when the mind drifts to money without you even noticing. A moment when the thoughts turn into worries, the worries become noise, and the noise becomes this invisible weight you carry everywhere. For millions of people, that moment is not occasional, it's constant. Because right now, Americans are thinking about money almost 4 hours every single day. 4 hours? That's not a thought, that's a part-time job. And yet, even with all this mental effort, most people still feel like they're losing the game. But here's the unsettling part. While most people are drowning in financial thoughts, a smaller group thinks about money in a completely different way. Not with fear, not with scarcity, not with the instinct to hold on for dear life, but with a clarity that rewrites the rules entirely. This is the part almost nobody sees coming. The part where thinking about money isn't the problem, thinking about it the wrong way is. You see, money isn't just a number in an account, it's the single most emotional subject in most people's lives. It affects how you sleep, how you talk to your family, how you make decisions. It shapes your confidence, it shapes your future. And whether you understand its rules or not, you are still playing the game. This matters because right now, people are thinking about bills, rising prices, housing costs, debt, tariffs, the fear of retirement, and the pressure of inflation. They feel the pull of every dollar. They feel the stress in their chest. They feel the weight of time slipping away as they stare at bank balances on their phones. And this isn't abstract. 36% literally lose sleep at night because of financial worries, and for millennials, it's even worse. Almost half stay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to solve a puzzle that feels unsolvable. It's happening in the quiet hours, between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. for some, or in that late afternoon window for Gen Z, when the world slows down just enough for anxiety to slip through the cracks. This isn't about laziness or irresponsibility, it's about a system of thinking that traps people into reacting, instead of directing, into panicking, instead of planning, into checking their accounts multiple times per day, hoping that somehow the numbers will rearrange themselves into comfort. And yet, the real question isn't why people think about money so much. It's why, after all this thinking, so few ever learn to think like the people who actually build wealth. Imagine waking up every day and believing, truly believing, that money is not scarce, that it's not a resource you need to fight for or hoard or protect with fear. High-income thinkers start from abundance, not because they're naive, not because they're lucky, but because they understand something most people don't. Money follows patterns, it follows rules, it flows, and when you chase it with panic, it slips through your fingers. But when you create value, when you solve problems worth solving, when you think in decades instead of days, money flows toward you. Most people think in paychecks, they count the days until the next deposit. They obsess over the short-term drama of rising costs and unexpected bills. They panic about today. High-income thinkers don't live in that world. They think in decades, 10 years, 20, 30. While everyone else spirals over weekly expenses, they make decisions that compound over years. They're not asking how to survive the moment, they're asking how to shape the future. Most people never notice this shift happening. They don't realize how deeply short-term thinking traps them. They cut spending monthly or weekly. They recalibrate constantly because financial anxiety forces them to react. But reacting is not the same as building. Adjusting is not the same as growing. High-income thinkers play the long game. They put small amounts aside consistently. They buy assets that grow. They reinvest profits. They understand that wealth isn't an explosion. It's a slow burn that turns into a wildfire only after years of disciplined fuel. But think about this for a moment. If you believed that money was endless, how would you act? You wouldn't hoard. You wouldn't fight for scraps. You wouldn't envy others. You would create more. You would grow the pie. High-income thinkers don't fear sharing opportunities. They know that giving first knowledge, contact, chances comes back stronger. They know money moves toward those who move it forward for others. Most people try to protect themselves. Wealth creators focus on impact. And this is where everything shifts. Because right now, millions of people are cutting costs, they're canceling subscriptions, skipping dinners out, postponing travel, reducing entertainment, saying no to social activities. Half the country believes more income would relieve their stress, another half believes lower living expenses would. But what they're really searching for isn't cheaper life, it's mental peace, financial clarity, the feeling of control. High-income thinkers don't solve stress by shrinking their life, they solve it by expanding their capabilities. They don't look for ways to spend less, they look for ways to grow more. While others say no to opportunities, high-income thinkers say no to distractions. They skip the flash, the status, the illusions. They choose growth over glamour. They use their money to learn, not to show off. They spend on skills, on education, on experiences that shape them. They build relationships, not reputations. They buy books, not designer labels. They invest in things that return value, not dopamine. And they do it quietly. Because real wealth doesn't need to scream. But here's the part nobody expects. High-income thinkers don't just manage money, they deploy it. They don't let money sit in savings, slowly melting under inflation. They put their money to work. They build businesses. They buy properties. They invest in stocks. They create streams of income that don't require their presence. They get off the clock as fast as they can. Because they know what most people never learn. Your salary has limits, but business growth doesn't. Most people rely on one income stream. Wealth creators build multiple. They know that every dollar that sits still is a dollar that dies slowly. They turn profit into more profit. They understand that money grows when it moves. And this ties back to the first article in a powerful way. While most people think about money constantly, high-income thinkers think about it strategically. They check financial news daily, not out of fear, but out of curiosity. They seek information, they look for opportunities, they look for clarity. They build plans instead of reacting between paychecks. And when confusion strikes, they talk to advisors, they ask questions. They look ahead while others look down. Now imagine the emotional difference between these two worlds. On one side, people losing sleep, 36% lying awake at night, 44% of millennials battling their thoughts alone in the dark, 38% losing focus during the day because every financial worry echoes in their mind, 2 in 5 feeling the strain in their relationships, people adjusting their habits monthly, recalibrating weekly, living inside a cycle of worry. And yet, inside that same world, another mindset exists, one that transforms all those emotions into fuel. 1/3 of people think about how to grow their money, 30% think about long-term security, 35% take action when financial thoughts arise, especially millennials. 1 in 5 has improved their credit score, 1 in 5 has paid off meaningful debt, nearly 1 in 5 has created a budget or spending plan. There is movement, there is progress, there is a shift from fear to forward momentum. And this is where the story turns from struggle to possibility, because hidden within all this stress is a truth few people recognize. Thinking about money is not the enemy, it's an invitation to understand your emotions, to recognize your patterns, to see where your mindset is building your future or blocking it. The stress isn't just discomfort, it's a signal, a nudge toward clarity. And high-income thinkers use this signal like a compass. They feel the worry, but they redirect it. They turn reaction into action. They use consistent small steps to build a foundation that compounds. They seek information not to soothe anxiety, but to understand reality. They ask better questions. They take responsibility for long-term outcomes, even when short-term circumstances are chaotic. They believe they can create value that matters, and that belief generates momentum that most people never tap into. But here's the revelation that sits at the center of all of this. High-income thinkers do not make wealth their identity. They make impact their priority. They ask how they can give, not how they can receive. They solve problems worth solving. They build products people need. They create jobs. They support causes that matter. And as they expand their impact, the returns expand with them. Because money flows to those who add value. Money flows to those who grow the world around them. Money flows to those who stop chasing and start creating. And behind every choice they make, whether it's abundance, long-term vision, reinvesting, or focusing on impact, there is one final principle: they protect their energy like their money. They understand that mental and physical health is their most valuable asset. They invest in rest, in exercise, in good food, in mental clarity. Because wealth without health is imbalance, wealth without strength is instability, and without protecting their energy, they cannot sustain the long game they are committed to playing. It becomes clear then that the real difference between high-income thinkers and everyone else is not luck, intelligence, or background. It's perspective, it's mindset, it's the way they interpret the world around them. While most people are overwhelmed by economic headlines, high-income thinkers glide through the noise, looking for signals. While others panic about rising prices, wealthy thinkers look for long-term patterns. While some people check their accounts multiple times a day out of fear, high-income thinkers check financial news daily out of focus. While many people spiral into reactive spending cuts, wealthy thinkers invest in their growth. The data shows the contrast vividly. Nearly half of Americans think more about money than ever before, yet most feel more stressed, more overwhelmed, and more uncertain. At the same time, nearly half believe they will reach their financial goals. There is hope, there is ambition, there is potential, and the bridge between stress and success is not external, it's internal. It's the way you see money. This is the turning point, the moment when the story shifts from what people feel to what they could become. Because money is not just a problem to solve, it's a game to understand, a game with rules, a game with patterns, a game where the winners are not the people who think the most about money, but the people who think the most clearly, the people who operate from abundance, the people who think in decades, the people who choose growth over indulgence, the people who build businesses, not just bank accounts, the people who focus on impact, not applause, the people who guard their energy, not their ego. This is the mindset that transforms worry into progress. This is the mindset that turns ambition into action. This is the mindset that builds wealth. Not the quick kind, not the loud kind, but the kind that lasts. And in a world where financial stress is rising, where people are losing sleep, where uncertainty feels constant, this mindset is no longer optional. It's necessary. Because you cannot control the economy, you cannot control prices, you cannot control global events or inflation or headlines. But you can control the way you think. You can control the way you respond. You can control the choices you make in the face of fear. And when you do, something powerful happens. Money stops being a source of anxiety and becomes a source of direction. The noise fades, the path becomes clearer, the tension loosens its grip. You stop reacting to your circumstances and start designing your trajectory. You stop playing defense and start playing offense. You stop waiting for life to get easier and start building the skills to rise above the challenges. Because ultimately, high-income thinkers don't see money as a finish line. They see it as a tool to build, a tool to grow, a tool to help others, a tool to design a life with intention. And when you understand the tool, you no longer fear it. You no longer let it dictate your peace, your relationships, your confidence, or your sleep. You take back control. So the real question is not how often you think about money. It's how deeply you understand the thoughts you're having. Are they rooted in scarcity or abundance? Are they pointing you toward the future or trapping you in the present? Are they building habits or feeding fears? Are they opening you or closing you? Money is always on your mind. Now the challenge is to decide what to do with that mental space. Where do you stand in this journey right now? Tell me in the comments. Watch the next video and see how the people who understand where the money's moving next always win. And if you're serious about staying ahead of that shift, hit subscribe. You'll want to see what's coming next. Oh, and if you're thinking of starting your own investing journey, take a look at the link in the description. It's the platform I personally use to explore global markets.